back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 704 once again for another episode. And this is a big episode. Episode 60 of the 815 Exchange. And I am very excited. I'm very excited about this episode. I am very excited. Not just because we've had, the past 3 days, the growth on the channel has been, I can't even put it into words. Again, y'all boosted my ego. I appreciate it. I'm not gonna complain. Y'all boosted my ego. But yeah, it was a crazy week. We had some combat sports, had a little tad bit of stuff in entertainment, and an album drop, and of course we had football, and just an absolutely insane week in football. But, and of course, it's the best time of the year for baseball, and I'll talk about that when we get there. And of course, if you want to see me talk about it right now, you just want to skip ahead to that MLB segment, or you want to hear me talk about Youngboy and Titans and, whatchamacallit, in the What If series this week with Loki. You want to skip to that entertainment segment, or maybe you just want to see what I talked about with the Ryder Cup and the WNBA and the Roundup. Feel free to skip ahead. Timestamps are in the description. Everything you ever need to find, even the description of the episode is in the description. That's why it's called the description. Also got my social media links, also found in the outro if you want to follow me there on my other platforms. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I'm very excited. I'm very excited about this episode. So let's get episode 60 underway. And we're not going to start off with college football. That's going to be the second segment. We're going to start off with combat sports because, man, it's been a while. It has been a while since I've gotten to do a combat sports section. And I missed it. Honestly, I've missed having a UFC event. I've missed having boxing to talk about. And we finally had it. We had it all in one day. And we're going to start off chronologically, and of course that means we're starting off with the big heavyweight bout I talked about in the Roundup last week on episode 59, and that is Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua. Now, I admit, I did say I had Joshua winning, setting up the undisputed match, but just to simply put it, Alexander Usyk needs his flowers. Usyk needs his flowers. He is now a unified, if you don't know the result already from what I just said, Usyk put on a boxing masterclass and just outboxed Anthony Joshua for 12 rounds. Not all 12 rounds, don't get it wrong. Joshua was not dominated by any stretch of the word. Very competitive fight. A very good fight. Some people even wanted to go as far as a fight of the year contender possibly. It was a good fight. It was a good competitive fight. Usyk was the clear winner. For a second there, because of boxing and how it's been, and you know how the refs can be and the judges can be, I was like, please do not screw Usyk after this obvious win. But they didn't. They did the right thing, and Usyk, after being the undisputed cruiserweight champion, is now a unified heavyweight champion and probably will await. Well, Joshua could, of course, he's got the rematch clause, but probably awaits the winner of Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder 3 for possibly a second undisputed belt, which would just, he's already an all-time great. It's undisputed. It's undisputed that he is an all-time great at this point. This is Holyfield stuff. Just unbelievable what Usyk did. His fight IQ, the way he responded to adversity in that fight. Even, shout out to Joshua because he, went through it in that fight. He made adjustments, but Usyk was just better. This was just an example of one fighter being better than the other. It wasn't a hit on the other guy. It's just one guy was better than the other, and that man was Alexander Usyk. Give him his flowers. One of the best in the world, in my opinion. Probably should be top 3 pound for pound. I put him at number 2 below Canelo. And of course, him and Caleb Plant got to business over their first face-to-face. We saw that happen. But Usyk, dude, what a beast. Joshua, he'll be fine. Boxing, listen, and just combat sports in general, losses do happen. It's not the end of the world. But that also, what else happened on this card? Baby Hatton doesn't have the goods. Callum Smith sent somebody to the hospital. Oh my goodness, that knockout was vicious. But overall, it wasn't a bad card. The undercard I heard was a little weak, but the main card wasn't that bad. But yeah, congrats to Usyk. AJ will be back, but Alexander's just a different beast, man. He's just a different beast. Now for UFC 266, switching over to MMA here. Headlined, of course, by Alexander the Great Volkanovski taking on Brian T. City Ortega. And this beef, if you didn't watch the embeddeds, which of course, like always, as I've done for every single episode on this podcast that I have told you, and gone over your UFC event, a major UFC event, watch the embeddeds, do that, great piece of work. Volk just, it looked like it was a pretty personal, beef. At least it was kind of one-sided, though, if I'm being honest. Ortega didn't really have a problem with Volk, but Volk really was annoyed by Ortega, whether it was his lateness or whatever. And Ortega just really got framed as like this villain almost throughout the fight week by some of the IMC, I guess, the IMMAC, the internet community, kind of turned on Ortega, even though everybody else kind of had his support or whatever. But for whatever reason, they weren't rocking with him. But Ortega earned all of that respect back on Saturday night and Sunday morning because he put on a warrior performance. And one of the fights of the year and one of the best rounds you will ever see, which was round 3, in the chaos of Volk winning and then Ortega locking in, a guillotine out of nowhere, getting the knockdown on Volk, hopping into a guillotine so incredibly fast. Looked like Volk was going to tap there. He gets out. Volk goes onto the ground and pound. And then he gets caught in a triangle. Somehow gets out of that. And then Ortega, can barely see. Really couldn't see. A lot of people were wondering why his, camp even let him go out for rounds 4 and 5. He even possibly won round 5 as well. Even after all of that, people saying maybe this fight should be called. Ortega is he's a savage. He's a savage. Dude is a savage. He is a savage. I'm going to talk about Volk, but I had to give T-City his props. Dude he's a savage. That's the best way I can put him. Like, unironically, dude is a savage. Like, the way he's one of the toughest dudes. In a sport of tough guys, he's the tough guy. In MMA, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's kind of in a weird position because I don't think he beats Max, or as we know now, he doesn't beat Volk. Volk got the UD here. What next? What do you do with him? Because he's kind of stuck in this position. He's almost like a gatekeeper towards the championship, which sounds kind of weird. But of course, not talking about the great, because the great was great, and Alexander Volkanovski put on a show. He put on a show. Dude he needs his respect. Even though I kind of thought Max won. I thought it was very, very close. The Max versus Volk 2, kind of leaning towards Max. Volk is definitely worthy of being champion. That doesn't need to. He is far and away. I have no problems calling him the best featherweight in the world. Of course, Max has got Yair, and then that might set up the trilogy. But I have no problems with Volk. He's a great dude. He's a lad. He's an incredible fighter. His fight IQ is just different. He's just different. One of the smartest fighters in the game, and he put on a show. He came to win, and he did just that. And he won in pretty dominant fashion as well over Ortega. Made a statement. Made a fantastic statement. City Kickboxing might be relocating because New Zealand to America. We'll see what him. Dan Hooker got a win on this card as well. And of course, they got Israel, the last stylebender, Adesanya in that camp. So yeah, CKB doing pretty well. I heard they're coming to America. In the co-main event, we had Valentina Shevchenko continue her dominance over 125. It's just Lauren Murphy. Congratulations for making it here, but you were a sacrifice. Barb, you were a sacrifice. There wasn't really a discussion about it. You were absolutely sacrificed to Valentina Shevchenko. And Shev caught another. Well, she didn't really. It wasn't a Andrade, a Jessica I type body. But this was clear domination. Murphy she wasn't touching. She just wasn't touching Val. She wasn't. Val gets the TKO in 4. Obviously the headliner may have been Nick Diaz's return against Robbie Lawler. And that whole situation just now looks kind of sketchy with what Diaz's comments were. Even though he does have that, anxiety, social anxiety, I feel, in terms of like interviewing and just being in the public eye. Even though he is such a big star, I just, the way it kind of just the way he came in shape wise And just Lawler just completely outclassed him. TKO'd him in round 3. Diaz didn't even get up. Just, it kind of, what makes me wonder if this was just like a cash grab, because it feels like it was a cash grab, and just kind of Nick didn't really, his heart wasn't fully into this match, with them having to, go up to 185 a week before the fight. It's just a lot of scenarios. But Lawler, congratulations on the win. Curtis Blades, UD's Gyro Rosenstrike, Snooze and Strike as people were calling him. Blades, just congrats on the win, moving up on the heavyweight ladder. He can beat contenders, but he's just not as good. He's almost like Ortega on a little bit lesser of a level, because I feel like he can get clipped by contenders, but he can't be the champions. So Blades kind of in a weird position, but he gets the UD over Rosenstrike. Speaking of Jessica Andrade, KOs Cynthia Calvillo in round 1. She's like a mini cyborg is what somebody called her, and I really like that comparison for Andrade. She hits different. Honestly, she just hits different. Her power for her size is just, it's not, seen by really anybody else in that division. It's what makes her an anomaly. Unfortunately, she can't beat Val. So she's kind of in like a weird position there. But she can go up and down, so we'll see what happens there. But she does get the good round 1 win versus Calvillo. Marlon Moraes, kind of just go summarizing the rest of this, which was a good event. I really enjoyed this event. For the bits and pieces, even though I had to leave during the main card, I really did enjoy this event. I really did enjoy UFC 266. I really did miss the UFC. But Marlon Moraes is the king of looking phenomenal in round 1 and then just somehow losing the fight. He loses to Merab. Congrats to Merab. Another win for him. I said Hooker won. Chris Dukakis gets his 4th straight win in heavyweight. Moving on up. He said he wanted to be the greatest heavyweight of all time. DC laughed at him, which I think was a little messed up. But nonetheless, congrats to Dukakis. He gets the win. Of course, we also had the UFC Hall of Fame this weekend. GSP, congratulations. He goes in. Kelvin Randleman goes in. John Jones, in the most John Jones way possible, gets inducted for his fight with Alexander Gustafsson. I mean, again, an all-time fight, well-deserved of a Hall of Fame nod. Actually not even the next night, maybe probably 5 hours later, after the Hall of Fame event concludes, he gets arrested for domestic violence. Just, man. John Jones gonna John Jones, Johnny Bones Jones. Gunn and Johnny Bones Jones. That is the most John Jones thing to ever happen. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame, end up with a mugshot the next morning. What a way to conclude, or what a way really it kicked off a wild weekend in the UFC. But yeah, that was Combat Sports. It was a great week. Now to head over to college football. And of course, we got to start off with the home team. You know what it is, man. We got to start off and talk about them boys in the 704. We had another home game, which means I went to the game, of course. It means 2 things. Okay? Actually, it means 3 things. It means 3 things. If Charlotte has a home game, and I'm talking about it here on this podcast, which I talk about all of our games, it means 3 things. It means, 1, I went to this game. It means 2, we won this game. And it means 3, that Club Lit was open. And Club Lit was absolutely, positively open for show on Friday night. Middle Tennessee came in, they put up a good fight. They put up a solid fight. All credit due to Middle Tennessee. We won 42-39 though. We won 42-39. The student section has been electric all year. Somebody almost got thrown out for some unclassy stuff. I don't like to see the whole throwing stuff at the sideline. I'm all for, the harassing of refs and, the other players. But, I can't really rock with the actual physical violence, because it's not fair and you shouldn't do it. But nonetheless, student section was rocking. Jerry Richardson Stadium was rocking, and we got another win. We were rocking the gold unis. It was a beautiful time. Chris Reynolds, a.k.a. the GOAT, continued his reign as the GOAT here at UNC Charlotte, at least on the offensive side of the ball probably. Broke the school record for passing touchdowns. And just in this game, CR3 had 371 yards passing, 5 touchdowns total. He's just a beast. He's a good quarterback, man. He's just a good quarterback. Love Reynolds, love Chris. Of course, his name is Chris, so you knew he was going to be good. Shout out to my boy Cal Camp and Shadrick Bird. They got it done. Camp had 12 carries, 101 and a touchdown. Grant Dubois, Grant the God, as I have nicknamed him to my boy Ra. Shout out to Ra. 9 receptions, 114, 2 touchdowns. He had another 100-yard game for him. And of course, if we're talking about 100-yard receiving games, I can't leave off my boy Vic Tuck. 5 receptions, 108. No touchdowns for the game for him, but he makes plays when we need him, and that cannot be accounted for enough. Also, to be fair, everything is fair. To talk about Middle Tennessee, Caleb Cunningham, shout out to you, had 5 touchdowns, but club lit. UNCC rolls with 3-1, 3 wins away from our second bowl appearance. And we're looking like we're going to be pretty good, We're pretty good. We're pretty good. Shout out to Will Healy, best young coach in America. Moving on now to the national schedule, of course. Notre Dame, Wisconsin. And this game was pretty close. It was pretty close. Not that it should have been close because Graham Mertz threw 4 picks. But it was pretty close as the game started to wane on. But then at the end, Mertz threw back-to-back. And I've seen this very rarely. I've seen it before, but very, very rarely have I seen a man throw back-to-back pick sixes. But Graham Mertz managed to, make it happen. Notre Dame runs away at the end, 41-13. That defense is for real. Shout out to that boy, Kyle Hamilton. Even though he didn't get up one of the picks in this game, I mean, again, he's honestly top 3 prospect with the way the quarterbacks are looking and the way the offensive side of the ball is looking in this coming draft. Kyle Hamilton is looking like a top 3 prospect, and he's just a phenomenal safety. Chris Tyree as well, give a shout out to him. There were a lot of kick returns for a touchdown this week. Chris Tyree had a kick return for a touchdown in that game. Notre Dame rolls. Arkansas and Texas A&M. Sam Pittman, what a hire. What a hire. What a hire Sam Pittman has proven to be for Arkansas. The way he's changed that culture, the way he has changed that team and just made them infinitely better being there as that head coach, and shows what can happen when you make a great hire. Similar to a Will Healy for us is what a Sam Pittman's been for Arkansas. They continue to be undefeated. Of course, TAMU working without Haynes King, but still, nonetheless, you still got the rest of that team. Arkansas outlast 20-10. KJ Jefferson, 252 yards total, 2 touchdowns. Treylon Burks, a lot of people rising him high on draft boards. 6 receptions, 167 and a touchdown. Great job for the Razorbacks. Woo Pig Suey. Baylor takes down Iowa State 31-29. Even though Breece Hall had a nice comeback game here with 192 touchdowns, Gary Bohannon came through with 200 total yards and 3 touchdowns himself for Baylor. And the Bears get it done, knock down Iowa State. I believe they got unranked as well. So rough week for the Cyclones. It's been a rough start to the season for the Cyclones, honestly. Losing to Iowa and now losing to Baylor here in a close-knit battle. It's just tough. It's a tough situation. Now, one of the biggest stories of the week, Clemson now falling to number 25 after they take a fat L. A nice fat L. Shout out to my boy Ra, he's an NC State fan. And of course, shout out to my boy Devin Boykin, repping the 336. They take down Clemson in double overtime, 27-21. Shout out to the Wolfpack. Devin Leary, 32 for 44, 238, 4 touchdowns for him. Amezi, 14 receptions, 116, 1 touchdown. Devin Carter with the game winner, even though they made it happen on defense. Justin Ross played a solid game up till then, but then you have to go. You have to go. I don't care if you don't come close to that ball. You have to make an attempt. For all of the, stuff I can say about DJU this week and what I can say about him having a subpar season, Ross has to make a play on that ball. If you are really Justin Ross and we've seen you make insane catches and be one of the best receivers in America, you better make an attempt on that ball. You better make an attempt on that ball. State's kicker got bailed out. Now, Dabo's going to get a lot of flack for this loss, because he's the guy and he's outspoken and because people just don't like Dabo Swinney. People just have, outside of Clemson, people just seem to have this general disdain for Dabo Swinney, which is ironic because Clemson, once upon a time, was the plucky underdog. But he doesn't really, who deserves the flack? Not really Dabo. He deserves some flack. He's the head coach nonetheless. Tony Elliott does not need to have a job right now. There is no reason for Tony Elliott. I don't care how good he recruits. He is an awful offensive coordinator. He is a god-awful offensive coordinator. He has no business being an offensive play caller. He sucks. He sucks. And now he doesn't have Trevor Lawrence or Travis Etienne to help, or T. Higgins to help make him look like $1 million, right? That's gone. So now you're working with a subpar offensive line and skill players that aren't as good. Will Sweeney, I hate that he got hurt like he did. Still a good offense, though. I mean, you still got weapons, but you don't know how to use them clearly because your play calling is just garbage. Lawrence and Etienne had to make it happen. And it was what I talked about last year when I talked about Clemson. Their offense just looked off. They were winning off of sheer will and talent in terms of the offense, and Lawrence and Etienne just making crap look, polishing crap. They were polishing crap. And now there's no more polish for the crap, and the crap is just crap. That's a strange analogy, but nonetheless, you get the point. Tony Elliott does not need a job. And I hate to say that because I hate to wish anybody being fired or to lose employment, but Tony Elliott, with all due respect, does not need to be an offensive coordinator, certainly not in a program like Clemson. Florida takes out Tennessee. My boy Hendon Hooker, shouts to the 336 once again. Got the start for Tennessee, and he was looking good before he got knocked out of the game. Hate to see that for him, though. Florida gets the win here, though, 38-14. Emory Jones looked good again this week. He's a good quarterback. He's a pretty good quarterback. Anthony Richardson's got more upside, but Emory he's a good quarterback. 21 for 27, 209, 144 yards rushing to go along with that 209, and 2 touchdowns. Great game for him. Michigan was able to take down Nebraska barely. Nebraska, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Cornhuskers. I'm so sorry, Nebraska fans. It's just pain. It's just pain all the time. Xavier Henderson with 17 tackles in this game. It's just always some type of pain for Nebraska fans. I feel for them, man. Oklahoma beats, and I mean beat. I slightly mean beat, because you can argue whether they really beat West Virginia, and more they just kind of escaped or just kind of shifted by West Virginia, if I'm being honest here. Spencer Rattler to sum up this game, Spencer Rattler threw an interception, and there was Caleb Williams chants for about 5 minutes, and it was loud. It was picking up on the broadcast. How Spencer Rattler went from projected #1 overall pick to guy that some people are saying shouldn't even come out and should probably transfer next year, so before Williams takes his job, I don't know. But Oklahoma is, I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know how it got this bad. Y'all are hanging on by the skin of your teeth to this undefeated record. But nonetheless, Georgia Tech with a big upset here. North Carolina is in free fall. They are in free fall. They made Jeff Sims look like the second coming. 240 total, 4 touchdowns for Sims, 3 of those rushing. Sam Howell, now on paper, you see 25 for 39, 306, 3 touchdowns, and you think, okay, no picks. You think, okay, Sam Howell is back. No, he's not. 3 fumbles, and 3 fumbles lost in this game. We said Mac is back. We saw UNC getting all of this talent. They got Travis Shaw earlier. But the ACC is so bad. It's so bad. Florida State is 0-4, by the way. Travis Hunter continues to put up video game numbers in high school, the number 2 recruit in the nation. Some would argue he's number 1. But he stays committed. He stays committed to this frozen shell of whatever Florida State is. And just to summarize the rest of the college football world very quickly with the top 2 teams in the country. Jamison Williams, two kick returns for a touchdown this week for Bama. Shout out to Jamison, transfer from Ohio State. That should tell you how talented the Ohio State receiving corps is. Georgia put 62 on Vandy. Brock Bowers looks like he's going to be a first-round pick at tight end in about 3 years, because dude has been a monster in his freshman year. 3 touchdowns here. He even had 1 rushing as a tight end, which is nuts. He's just a freak athlete. Freak athlete. Wild week in college football. Just a wild week in college football. Entertainment. What if Thor was an only child? And the answer to that is we're going to host the greatest party that the earth has ever known. Frat Boy Thor was in full effect, as Chris Hemsworth put in a phenomenal voice acting performance, by the way. And yeah, Thor came to party, man. It was a nice lighter episode, you know, before the ending. It was a nice lighter episode for us to just kind of relax. A lot of fun. Jane and Darcy. Darcy got married to Howard the Duck in Vegas. They took over Vegas. We saw every space type of character in the MCU show up at this party. Captain Marvel got summoned earlier, and to stop Thor, we had to have Hela called in to, you know, kind of, it was like one of those teen movies where they do this massive party while the parents are gone, and then the party, you know, they have to get everything cleaned up, you know, before the parents come back. They did that trope. They did very well as well. We saw Frost Giant Loki. Loki and Thor still connected, even though they weren't siblings in here. They were brothers from another mother. But yeah, this was a great episode. Honestly, it was a fun episode. It was a nice breather besides the ending. You know, when all that happened, you know, Vision, or whatever you want to call whatever that, you know, form of Vision was. It was a nice switch up. A fresher breath air from, you know, everything is darkness, everybody's dying, all this horrible stuff is happening. We're just going to have this one big massive party, and Thor's going to have a bunch of fun, but too much fun, and we did the trope. So good episode of What If. They don't miss. You know what it is. It's Marvel. Titans episode 9. No Scarecrow, no Dick, no Babs, none of the people in Gotham, no Starfire, no Blackfire, no Connor. Instead, we got to see what Donna Troy, Hank Hall, and Timothy Drake were up to in the afterlife. And honestly, I enjoyed this episode. I really did. I enjoyed the parts with those three. I enjoyed them basically having to kill all the goals and going through with all that. Hank had some great moments. Donna had some great moments. Tim had some great moments. Honestly, it was a lot of fun seeing that trio kind of go through everything they were going through there. Rachel and Demascale was kind of strange. It was nice to see what Rachel had been doing, but it was kind of weird, kind of a little bit off-putting. The whole scenes with Bruce felt kind of unnecessary, but nonetheless, she's back. The other, you know, Donna's back from the dead. Tim's back from the dead. So we'll see what happens next week in episode 10. But episode 9, overall, very good episode. Sincerely, Kentrell, NBA Youngboy returned. And I'm glad he took this, he was in jail, so it's not like he really had a choice. Even though he did just release the album from jail, so he could still release music nonetheless. But he needed this break. Because even though he was putting out, you know, good to even sometimes great projects, he was oversaturating himself, in my opinion, because he was releasing projects every 2 or 3 months. And while if you're a big NBA Youngboy fan, that was yo, hey, we hit more Youngboy. It was bro, it's relax, right? Take some time, let the people want more music from you to help build up the hype, and then you can release it, right? I appreciate you love making music and you're making a lot of it, but you were oversaturating the market. So it's good that he took this however long hiatus he did. Sincerely, Kentrell was a very good album. I'm going to give it an 8.6, 8.7. I'm going to not dip into that 9 category, even though I really like the songs. I feel like I want some more variety from him. I want some more versatility. He has a certain sound that you know and you associate Youngboy with, and he does it very well. Does it at an elite clip, and it's what's made him uber successful, made him a bunch of dollars at a very, very young age. But for a 21-song album, you gotta switch it up some. And he switched up just a little, but he needs to it needs to be some versatility. I get having a cohesive album, but you gotta have, even though they're good songs, some of the songs are starting, it feels like they're blending into each other in terms of content or just beat selection. Even though it's hard, it's just, I need some more versatility before I put him on elite status. But he's got all the potential in the world. If he gets his head on straight, it's over. Somebody else said, I think Birdman said it. I don't know if I go as far as biggest rapper in the world, but he could be a big time player. He already really is. But gotta get his head on straight. But this was a very good album. Very, very good album. You guys can let me know what you thought about it. White Teeth, I remember, is one of my standouts. Gunna and Future dropped a nice little single, a track called Too Easy. My boy Trev, let me listen to it on the way to a party, actually. And yeah, good stuff from Gunna, good stuff from Future. About what you would expect from that collab. So yeah, good stuff there. Good week in music for hip hop. Good week. Good week. Good week overall. CLB reigned supreme from a third straight week. So yeah, it went plat. Dude went plat in 3 weeks, which Drake he's on another level. He's just on another level. But that was entertainment. MLB. The St. Louis Cardinals have now won 16 straight. 16 straight. I mean, they're scorching hot. This is literally the ideal way. If you want to close a season, you want to head and build some momentum going into the playoffs, this is how you do it. You win 16 straight games, so I had to give a brief shout out to the Cardinals because that's just, I mean, insanity. Absolute insanity what's going on there. The Brewers, we talked about them clinching the playoffs last week. Well, they clinched the NL Central Division, so congrats to the Brewers. Big win there. Again, they're having a great season. Not so much on the clip of like the Giants or the Dodgers, but still nonetheless having a great season. But what I really want to talk about in the MLB, what I really want to talk about in this baseball section is what happened the past couple days in the biggest rivalry, one of the biggest rivalries in sports, the Yankees and the Red Sox. Now, as you may know, I am a Yankees fan, so Boston fans, I'm going to talk about a little bit right now, because it was a rough week in Fenway for y'all. And this is one of my favorite times. This point in time right here, as we push towards the playoffs, and of course into the playoffs, is my favorite time for baseball. For everybody that says baseball is boring, watch it now. Watch it now during these times, because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Oh my goodness. It's the best. It's the absolute best. It's the absolute best. These past 2 games for us, Giancarlo Stanton, back-to-back days, back-to-back games, hitting it over the Green Monster for the go-ahead. Aaron Judge, even though that was probably a strikeout, still gets the go-ahead hit. Just, you love to see it, man. What a time to be alive, man. What a time to be alive. We now take control of the wild card. After all of the doubts, we had the hardest strength of schedule. We go into Fenway and we sweep our chieftain rivals who were battling for the wild card to go a game ahead. You can't make it any better. You can't write that any better. Shout out to Adam Altavio for blowing it once again, but this time now with the pinstripes and with that ugly gray jersey that whatever the Red Sox wear. It was a great time to be a Yankees fan. Hopefully we can keep this momentum going. Giancarlo Stanton, you beautiful, beautiful man. Aaron Judge, that's why I have your jersey. I nearly wore it today, but I had a rep for the 704. But the Yankees, back on top, baby. This wild card race is going to be absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. The NFL week, of course, kicks off on Thursday, and it was a rough one. It was a rough one. And you know how Thursday games are. A lot of people have different opinions here. Panthers did get the win 24-9, but it came at a steep cost. CMC, sprained ankle, luckily only a grade 1. He's also on my fantasy team, so that hurt. That one hurt. Probably for a lot of people it also hurt. Of course, it hurt for the Panthers. But we were still able to overcome, got the win. Another thing that hurts is J.C. Horn getting hurt. I don't know what the timetable on that is. He might be out for the season. I think it may have been a broken foot. But, yeah, rough one. Absolutely rough game for the Panthers. Like, they got the win, which is great. They go to 3-0. Darnold had over 300 yards passing yet again, which another example of maybe the Jets were the problem. Maybe the Jets were the problem, yeah. Davis Mills not bad for the Texans. Brandon Cook showed out. He might be quarterback proof, by the way. 9 receptions, 112 for him. DJ Moore also had 8 receptions, 126 for the Panthers. But yeah, a rough game. A very, very rough game for the Panthers, but they get the win. Washington fans look away. The Bills beat the brakes off of the Washington football team 43-21. Josh Allen was on his worst behavior. 5 total touchdowns. 32 for 43, 358, 4 touchdowns through the air for him. Heineke, 2 picks. It was really along the lines of what for the rest of the, set the tone for the rest of the week. even though it happened at the same time as other games, of a lot of bad quarterback play. There was some god-awful quarterback play, and of course we'll talk about it when it happens. But the Bills get the win. Josh Allen goes crazy. Bills look like they're back on track. They go to 2-1. Justin Fields finally gets his first career start against the Browns, and Myles Garrett welcomed him to the NFL. 4.5 sacks for Myles Garrett. Looked, of course, like one of the best defensive linemen and one of the best players in the league, which is what he is. Fields was in the torture rack all game. I think he got sacked 9 times. He went 6 for 20, 68 yards. I mean, it was a worst case, probably close to the worst case scenario for Bears fans watching your rookie quarterback get pummeled. The offensive play calling wasn't good. A lot of that needs to go on Matt Nagy. And just it was a horrible game. It was a horrible game. Horrible game. A horrible game for the Bears. And Justin Fields played terribly. He played terribly. No other way to put it. Fields was not good. Ravens. Justin Tucker. That's all I got to say, man. That's all I got to say. What an ending. The most Lions ending possible. Play clock runs out, doesn't get called. They move in the field goal range, barely. Well, what turned out to be field goal range. So Justin Tucker can trot out as possibly the greatest kicker of all time and hit the longest field goal in NFL history and a game winner in one of the most dramatic fashion, hitting off of the bottom bar and then going in. It was just... It was the most Lions way to lose possible. Justin Tucker, you are an absolute legend, a surefire Hall of Famer, one of the best kickers to ever do it. And Ravens escape. I feel so bad, Lions. I really do. I feel horrible. Titans get the win over Indianapolis, who just crumbled at the end, 25-6. Tannehill, 2 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. Got it done at the end, but it wasn't pretty. Derrick Henry goes over 100 yards yet again. That's what he does. Mike Pittman Jr., not a bad game as well for the Colts, but, Titans do what they do. Close it out. They move to 2-1. Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 1-2. LAC gets the win 30-24, but KC is not. It's Andy Reid, happy that he's healthy, dehydration. But Mahomes played one of the worst games I've seen Mahomes play. 27 for 44, 260, 2 unnecessary picks. And just his decision-making was all over the place. Kelsey did what Kelsey did, but Justin Herbert stole the show. 26 for 38, 281 for touchdowns. The Slayer was good, but Mike Evans was better. 7 receptions, 122, 2 touchdowns. The Chargers was great. They were great. This is a huge win. I think Romo called this the biggest win of Herbert's career. Absolutely. This is a statement-making win this early in the season for the Chargers. Came back, left no doubt, made some ballsy decisions, and go out and get a win against a team the caliber of Kansas City. They just put the league on notice. They put the league on notice with that one. Impressive win. Continuing, quarterbacks playing bad. Mac Jones, come on down. Now, he had been the solid. A lot of people had been riding Mac Jones, his coattails the past couple weeks. Well, 30 for 51. Why is he going 51 times? 270, 3 picks. All of them not his fault. One of them not his fault. But the other 2, kind of on you, Mac. Jonnu Smith dropping the ball 4 times doesn't help as well. Jameis Winston gets it done when it matters. Saints win. But once again, young quarterback plays absolutely god-awful. Saints defense put on a show. I mean a clinic. An absolute clinic. Falcons eke it out. Young Koku with the game winner against the Giants, 17-14. Gets them the first win of the season. Giants fall to 0-3. I don't know why people had them in contention for the NFC East. I do not know. I will never understand that. Matt Ryan looked better this week, but once again, you are playing the Giants. The Bengals get the win over the Steelers, 24-10. Burrow was excluded from the back quarterback play this week. 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 2 of those. Ben Roethlisberger, however, joined in the fray. He had 2 picks, 318. Najee Harris had a great game. 14 receptions as a running back, 102. Insane game for Najee, but Burrow and the Bengals simply were just better. Not the Steelers, the 1-2. It could be a long season. It could be a long season. If the Bengals can contend with them and the Bengals are showing they got better, it could be a long season for Steelers fans, especially with the Browns as good as they are. Trevor Lawrence. It was another rough week for the #1 overall pick. 2 interceptions. One of them was not his fault. One of them was absolutely his fault, that flea flicker, which was just a bad play call in general. The Jaguars have not looked good at all this season. The Cardinals didn't look great, but, I mean, they were playing the Jaguars. They didn't have to look great to win this game, if I'm being honest. A.J. Green was the guy that went over 100 this week for the Cardinals. Yeah, they get the win. Jamal Agnew with the 109-yard kick six. Absolutely insane. Shout out to Gus Johnson, the best in the game. And one of the best ever. Broncos taking down the Jets 26-0. Zach Wilson threw 2 picks again. He leads the league in interceptions. There's nothing good. There's nothing good for me to say about this game for the Jets. Broncos did what they were supposed to do. Raiders take down the Dolphins 31-28. Vegas goes to 3-0. I said it last week, man. Vegas, even though they were playing the Dolphins, listen, a win is a win. They're 3-0. They got my attention. I know that for sure. They got my attention. Derek Carr, John Gruden, Max Crosby, the Raiders got my attention. They got my attention for sure. Of course, Tua didn't play this week. Brissett wasn't bad. But Daniel Carlson with another game-winning field goal, by the way, in this game. Daniel Carlson with the game winner here. Rams beat the Buccaneers, and this was a big one. This was a big one. The Rams take down the defending champs. Matt Stafford continues to look like an early season MVP candidate. 27 for 38, 343, 4 touchdowns. I mean, what more to say? What more to say? Cooper Kupp, once again, great. Deshaun Jackson had a long touchdown. It's just the Rams, man. Listen, it's feeling like 3 years ago. It's feeling like 3 years ago. They got an actual quarterback now, and they're kind of putting it all together. We'll see if they can keep it going. But, yeah, I mean, and every celebrity. I mean, the whole Lakers team and Dr. Dre were at the game. They beat the Bucks, who were probably considered the best team in the league. But now, I think I might sit the Rams at top of my power rankings. They've looked that good. They've looked that good so far this season. Brady goes over 400 yards, which puts him over 80,000 for a career, but wasn't enough. Rams get the win. Vikings beat the Seahawks 30-17 for their first win of the season. Kirk Cousins was on 30 for 38, 323, 3 touchdowns. Madison also over 100 yards. Justin Jefferson looked like the Justin Jefferson of last year. And yeah, straight up, Vikings were just better. They were just better. Nothing else to really say about that. Vikings were just better. Congrats on the win. And the Sunday night game, another Mason Crosby, Aaron Rodgers masterpiece. Rodgers game-winning drive, 23 for 33, 261, 2 total in the game. Devontae Adams got knocked out. Don't know if they should have let him back in the game, but he still made that catch. 12 receptions, 132 and a touchdown. Packers eke out the 49ers on yet another game-winning field goal this week. So many game-winning field goals. And yeah, it was, again, I said wild for pretty much everything that happened in sports, but that's the best way to describe it. It was a crazy, crazy week in the NFL. So many game winners, so many crazy moments. But yeah, it was an interesting week 3. Congrats to the Packers on the win over the 49ers, though. With that said, of course, ladies and gentlemen, that means we have covered all of my major topics. We have reached the Roundup, the Ryder Cup. Golf was on and popping this week, man. The Ryder Cup, what an event. What an event. And I don't know if it was more exciting because we're actually good. Like the USA had a competitive team or what it was. But it was a heck of a time. Honestly, it was a heck of a time. It was a fun watch. It was all over social media. We even got Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka to hug it out. I don't know how genuine it was, but they hugged it out, and they got the win. USA dominates the world 19-9. First win in a while for us. Dustin Johnson goes 5-0. 5-0. For the world, though, Sergio Garcia got the most match wins in Ryder Cup history for a career. Not in this particular tournament, but for a career. But yeah, dominated. Colin Morikawa, only 24 years old. He got the clincher. Of course, like I'm talking about, Brooks, Bryson, Xander Schauffele. It was a great time. It was a great time. Justin Thomas, it was a great time, man. Honestly, So much fun. It was so much fun to watch those guys. We get the win. Ryder Cup, USA, USA, USA. Lewis Hamilton, another history-making moment here, wins his 100th race at the Russian Grand Prix and takes control of the lead over Max, who finished second in F1, excuse me. But yeah, Lewis, congrats, 100th win. That's absolutely insane numbers. But again, he's the greatest of all time for a reason. And of course, the WNBA playoffs have started. I saw Sylvia Fowles also win Defensive Player of the Year. But the big story yesterday, last night, Sue Bird, possibly her last game, played against her long time, one of her best friends, and played with her in college, formed one of the best duos probably in women's college basketball history. Diana Taurasi played against the Mercury. Mercury were able to get it done over the Storm, eliminated them. Could be Sue's last game, and it was against Diana, so that was special. They did the jersey swap. Everybody was calling for one more year, but yeah, two of the greatest of all time. Two of the greatest to ever pick up a basketball. And yeah, their impact on the WNBA, or at least Sue's, excuse me, and just on the game of basketball for women everywhere will never be understated. An absolute legend. And if this was it, thanks for all the memories, Sue. Much appreciated. It was a pleasure watching you do what you do best. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, it was a stacked episode 60. 60 episodes sounds insane, by the way. Hope you guys enjoyed. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you did. And as always, have a great week. Should be another great week in sports. Ocho, signing off.